this is Jen, and this video is about how the internet and the various websites trick you, and I'm going to show you how they trick you and why. So this is, I'm going to go through some of this stuff really quick because I've talked about a lot of this at length in several of my videos. So what I'm going to show you here is in this Congressional Globe, Congressional Record, Office of Proceedings of the Congress, 33rd Congress, First Session, Wednesday, May 3rd, 1954, page 67. You can go and find this and see it for yourself. This one was sent to me, so I don't know what website it's on. Okay, so this is Mr. Howell, and basically what he's saying is that in a bill that was written and getting ready to be passed, they used the phrase white male American citizens of the United States. And he says you should strike out white. Of course, you should strike out white. But that's not the issue that I want to talk about here today. His point is that you should strike out white and you should strike out American. And he goes on to explain that Americans are of the American territory, where citizens of the United States are of the United States territory, meaning there's two different territories. So we can look at the Constitution and we can see that there are, in fact, two different territories. And the Constitution is here. And we go to the preamble and we see we the people of the United States, that's one place. But basically what all this says is we work for and we promise to work for the United States of America. We go to Article 2, the President, and the President has two offices. He is President of the United States of America. And then under Section 2, he's President of the United States Land and Naval Forces. I have to find Section 2. Section 2, the President shall be Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and the militia of the several states. So he's the President of the United States of America and the President of the United States. That's not an accident. And we know it's not an accident because we go to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, and it says that the government, the federal government, has the right to pass laws on federal lands, which they call it district, which is a 10-mile square, which later they called it Washington, D.C., and is the seat of government, and places purchased, which is right here, places purchased, and like authority over all places purchased. Okay, so federal government works for America, which means there's a federal citizen and there's American citizens, which is what's talked about in the Congressional Record that I just showed you. That they had to change the bill so that it was properly stated American citizens was one group of people, and the group of people they were talking about was the citizens of the United States. So you have federal citizens, and then you have outside of federal citizens. Citizen, by Aristotle, he says they're a partner in the legislative and judicial power. So in the Constitution, citizens of the United States are Congress and the President. In our Constitution, the judicial authorities are not required to be citizens of the United States, so it doesn't say that they're required to be citizens of the United States, that they're required to have good behavior. And Black's Law 6 is a member of the political community, so you can agree to be a member of the political community. They'll accept you into their community. You just have to say that you want to be a part of it, and we do that just by these days clicking a button, such as on the internet, where we click that we are citizens of the United States when we're actually American citizens. And what does this have to do with the internet? I'll get to that. More proof of what I'm saying is true is you can look up this book by Abel P. Upshur, where he tears apart the commentaries of Chief Joseph Story, who is a land speculator sitting on land speculation cases, which is a conflict of interest, he should have recused himself as some of the other ones had. Or he says in his point 33, Congress had no power to coerce those governments, nor could it exercise any direct authority over their individual citizens. Okay, so in a book that I have, it says that it talks about federal government or in wholly owned government corporations. This is in a GSA manual, the General Services Administration, who makes and writes all the contracts for the federal government, Department of Defense in particular. And when we're talking about jurisdiction, we're talking about authority or power. Now, you see, this definition is written in much the same way that it's written, that the Constitution is written, in that they make capitalizations of certain words throughout the document. And so, jurisdiction is power or authority. This is specific jurisdiction, specific power, and specific authority. They're capitalized. They're capitalized in the Constitution also, which means that it's all very specific. It's not arbitrary. It's limited and well defined, and that's what the Constitution shows. Now, in this congressional record, it's from 1867. It's on page 1565. And Mr. Cowan here, Cowan, is asking the president, what is a state government? Is it a government cooked up for a state here in Congress? So there's many definitions of what a state is. There's a state created by the settlers, which is considered a lawful state. And then there's legal states created for a variety of purposes and a variety of reasons. They don't always attach to land. Sometimes they're attached to a subject, meaning a subject matter jurisdiction or a subject matter or an ideology. So they write these things down on these pieces of paper, their ideas about how things should go, and they call it a state. So what is a legal state government? Notice they said legal. Legal things are fictions because they're made up in the minds of man. They're not factual. They're not real. They seem real and they act real, but they're not actually real because they're not made in nature. They're not made by God. Only God can make actual, real, factual things. People are factual. Men are factual. Women are factual. We're real. We're in nature. We're created by God. So we're lawful. We can write down the lawful things, such as we can write down in mathematical form the laws of gravity, and that's a lawful thing. But when we write down things that are just from our head, things that we cook up, they're called legal, and they're called fiction and arbitrary, and not arbitrary, but fictional and forget the other word. Okay, so what does this have to do with websites? So here's a list of jurisdictions. These are the jurisdictions that the federal government has. They have no more or no less. This is it. This is, it's all by code. So when you go into the courthouse, you probably want to ask them what their jurisdictional code is. That was mentioned in another video I did yesterday. So what does this have to do with the internet? On the various websites that you go to, no matter which one it is, they're all registered as doing business in the United States. This is the Mises Institute. So when you register for a website, you go to Google and you register for Google Mail, you go to Yahoo, you go to Facebook, you go to any of the websites that they have online, and when you register, you have to register yourself as being a citizen of the United States. Or they ask you your address, and your address is of the United States. That means you're within the states of the United States. You can Google OLRC and you'll come to this website, Office of the Law Revision Council, United States Code, and you can look up words here and search them and search through the titles and laws. And I say titles and laws because not all laws are not all titles are laws. All laws started out as bills. Of course, we know that. And you can go through here and find out which ones are laws and which ones are not. If it has an asterisk, it's a law. If it does not have an asterisk, it's not a law. But you got to be careful because when you go down here to highways, it says highways is a law, but it's never been enacted into law. So again, you go to these websites. This is, I read a definition that said that this was a corporation, a federal corporation, which it is. They come under the federal laws, okay? But they're still a corporation or an instrumentality. They cannot make law. They cannot make rules or regulations. They are just a instrument that the government uses to try to get some of its laws done. But still, it doesn't make a law, and no one is bound to follow anything that's not a law. And even if it is a law, it applies on federal lands, which I showed you is stated in the Constitution. This is a book I just did a review on, but I wanted to point out that even the Mises Institute is considered a nonprofit organization with tax exemption status. But had they not registered with the United States, they wouldn't be a nonprofit organization. They wouldn't have tax exemption status, but they also wouldn't come under the laws and regulations of the federal government, including the non-law titles. But if you go out on the internet and at any website you try to select that you're an American, or that you're an American citizen, or that you are in the United States of America and not the United States, simply the United States, you won't be able to select that because they're never there. They never show up. So go out and try to register for anything on any website on the internet and try to pick that you are of the United States of America. They won't let you. They'll only let you pick the United States, which, as we know, if you've watched some of my other videos, the United States is the federal government, to which they try to gain control over you by getting you to admit that you're a citizen of the United States, or on federal lands, because most of us don't know the difference. I have a map from nationalatlas.gov which shows in my state which are the federal lands and which are not the federal lands, but it appears as though they've shut down the website, so you can't even get the maps anymore. Fortunately, I have one for my state. I've gone through the federal government websites to try to find where maybe they are keeping these maps, and I can't seem to find one. So go out onto the websites and search and see if you can select to be United States of America or an American citizen instead of a citizen of the United States. It won't let you because that's how it gets control over you. Like, share, subscribe, and if you don't want to do 2 of those, at least share. That'll help me out and that'll help others out. And as always, do no harm and have a great day.